I will present the article entitled Can We Earn Physical and Social Space Together Through Prosody? My name is Ambre Dava and I'm a PhD student supervised by Véronique Auberger from the League, a computer laboratory, and Gangfang from the GIPS Lab, a signal processing laboratory. Both of them are located in Grenoble, France. First, I need to explain the context of this study. In my research team, we are developing a telepresence robot that you can see on the right side of the screen. Telepresence robots are new generations of video conferencing systems. Their advantage is that they embody their users and allow them to interact with a remote environment. We hope that these robots will provide their users a better social immersion than traditional telecommunication systems. However, while making this robot, we realized that it was very complicated for the pilot to control their voice loudness in the remote environment. That's why we were looking for a model of vocal earshot to know in which conditions the telecommunication could run smoothly. We proposed to define vocal earshot by two boundaries. First, there is a lower limit, below which the loss produced by the robot is too loud and disturbs the listeners. Beyond this comfort limit, the listener is in the robot's vocal earshot and the loudness is nice. But if the distance increases too much, there is an intelligibility limit, beyond which the loudness is too low and people cannot understand what the user of the robot is saying. While thinking about this concept of vocal earshot, we realized that it was closely related to interpersonal distances and social affects. For example, when you want to be nice with someone, you won't do that from a far distance. You need to come closer to be able to speak with a gentle voice. And on the contrary, if you speak very loud, it doesn't have the same impact on people if they are at a 10-meter distance or at a 2-meter distance. This leads us to the question asked in this article. Can we earn physical and social space together through prosody? Our idea was to find if kind or intimate voice could be perceived closer than aggressive or socially distant voices. This question was inspired by some results in psychoacoustics. Indeed, some articles showed that the distance perception could be influenced by the speaker's vocal effort. In particular, whispered voice tend to be perceived closer than shout, as you can see in this figure from Merchant's article. This can simply be explained by the fact that it's very complicated to estimate a distance just by sound, so people are using their past experience, which told them that whispers cannot be heard from a long distance, and that when someone is shouting on the other hand, it is probably because they are far away. We wanted to reproduce this kind of experiment, but this time using prosodic variations instead of variations of vocal effort. So we asked our subjects to perceive a speaker's spatial position. We were interested in 3 position variables. These positions are direction, orientation, and distance, and they are sufficient to describe the relative positions of 2 interlocutors. The directions means on which side was the speaker, left, right, behind, or in front of the listener. The orientations means whether the speaker was turned to the subject or back to them. And finally, for the distance, we choose free distance, depending on the wind dimension. And also we choose distance, which could be interesting in terms of proxemics. So there was a close distance, at 1.7 meters. At this distance, people are still able to touch each other by reaching out. Then there was a middle distance of 2.5 meters and a far distance of 3.3 meters. And while we were asking listeners to estimate blindfoldedly these 3 position variables, the speaker was instructed to vary her social attitude and voice intensity. The prosodic patterns were chosen and produced by Véronique Auberger, who is a phonetician who has been studying prosody for 30 years. She is used to produce prosodic corpus in French, and has participated in several perception studies about French, as well as other languages such as English, Japanese, Mandarin Chinese, or Vietnamese. She emitted two kinds of voice, a gentle voice intended to bring the listener closer socially, and a strong voice intended to push back the listener. The first voice could be described as a kind of polite dot. The word is longer, with an ascending pitch, and a very brazy voice. And the second voice, on the contrary, is more like a confident or authoritative voice. It is shorter, with a descending pitch, and very tense. So I can, for example, make you hear two examples of this.
Coco. Coco.
Okay. However, as you may have noticed, the gentle voice tended to have a lower intensity than the strong voice. And as you can also notice on these average figures. You also add an intensity instruction. And finally, there are four positive patterns: low doubt, low confidence, or loud confidence. And I will let you hear a last example.
Ananas. 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 Ananas.
The experiment was repeated 3 times using different procedures. First, the speakers and the listener were present in the same room. The listener was blindfolded and needed to perceive the speaker's distance, direction, and orientation. Meanwhile, the speaker was uttering some words, following a list of instructions about her spatial position and voice production. At the beginning, we designed a very complex scenario in order that the subject would not be able to guess that the speaker was an experimenter and that she was voluntarily changing her way of speaking to affect their perception. We pretended that they were passing a very different experiment about the perceptions of flavor by taste or smell. And on the photo, for example, you can see some plastic glass, which are supposed to contain the homeopathic pills, which we pretend to be flavored pills that the speaker was recognizing. So the word she uttered was actually the flavor of the pill. And then I gave the subject a smelling jar that they need to recognize. And after that, the speaker and the listener could talk together and decide which is the flavor. And so in order to introduce the localization task, so it was very presented as the second task of the experiment, not the main task. And so before the experiment, I told them that I was interested in how their smell and taste would interact with each other. However, I didn't want them to be able to read some information from facial expressions of each other. So one of the subjects needed to wear a mask to hide his face. But as I wanted to be sure that he was really focused on the interaction, I asked him to guess the other subject's spatial position just after she stole the flavor. So by knowing if the localization of distance, orientation, and direction was good, I could tell that the subjects were indeed focused on the experiment. But as you can expect, so this first experiment was very long because of the pretext task, about 1 hour and a half for only 64 localizations. Moreover, it was difficult to set up because of the participants' availability, and finally only 10 subjects passed. So then we tried to simplify it by removing the pretext task. This time it lasted only half an hour, and subjects were perfectly aware that the speaker was part of the experiment, and that we were studying their adaptation to positive variations. Indeed, we even asked them to tell whether the speaker's intensity was low or loud, and whether she expressed doubt or confidence. As you will see next, there is a great difference between the results of these in situ experiments. So finally, we designed an online test, which is presented as an evaluation of the acoustic immersion provided by our telepresence robot. This time, the participants listened to words recorded with our telepresence robots, from different spatial positions. For reason of time, I will only present the results of both in situ experiments, but if you are interested by the results of the third experiment, you can contact me by mail. To analyze the results, we compared the subject's perceptions to the speaker's real position. For that, we computed several recognition scores for each position variable and prosodic condition. For example, if the subjects gave wrong answers all the time, their score will be equal to 0. And if they were right all the time, it would be equal to 100%. First, if we look at the results for direction perception, we can see that the score is very high, around 90%. Actually, it is very easy for the subjects to detect the speaker's general direction. Moreover, we could not notice any effects of the social effects or the intensity on this direction perception. The result is quite the same in the second experiment, high score and no variation. Then we can look at the results for orientation perception. This time there is a clear variation due to intensity. The score is much lower when the speaker's intensity is low. If we look at the detailed data, we can tell that when she was speaking lower, the subjects believed that she was turning her back to them. The same tendency can be observed for doubt versus confidence, but it is not strong enough to be significant. So this time, when we look at the results of the second experiment, we observe that the recognition scores are much higher on average, and that there is no variation at all between each condition. This suggests that when people are aware of the tricks of the experiment, they are better able to adapt to vocal variations, better at least than when they are naive. And finally, let's look at the results for distance perception. We can see that this was the most difficult variable for the subject because they are mistaken in almost half of the cases. This time, the recognition score is a little higher in the doubt condition, but if we go into details, there is no clear evidence whether the doubt is perceived closer on average than or further than confidence. Again, in this second experiment, there is no noticeable variation for social effect and intensity. How can we interpret these results? First, we notice that there is a real difference between the results of both experiments. In the second experiment, there is on average no significant variations for any condition. On the contrary, in the first experiment, there are some tendencies which are shared among all subjects. This could be the sign of a kind of observer's paradox, meaning that the subject's perception is different when their attention is focused on the variable that interests us. Therefore, it will mean that it is necessary to use a very complicated protocol in order to study how prosody influences acoustic space localization. About the results of the first experiment, we observed that there is mostly an effect of intensity on orientation perception. This is noticeable but not really surprising because when the speaker has her back to the subject, her intensity decreases. So it is not surprising that people misinterpret low intensity as a back orientation. The same tendency is found for doubt versus confidence. This could be due to an intrinsic difference of intensity between doubt and confidence, which is not entirely corrected by the instruction given to the speaker. And finally, for distance perception, there is no effect of intensity. In fact, in a reverberant room, intensity itself is not very useful to estimate distances, and people mostly rely on direct to reverberant energy ratio to perceive distance. There is also an effect of prosodic patterns on distance perception, but it is very small and hard to explain because it is not one way. Like for example, close distance being perceived middle and middle being perceived far. On the contrary, in our case, it is mostly the middle distance which is reported as close or far distance. In conclusion, can we earth physical and social space together through prosody? Our first results suggest that there is indeed an influence of prosody on spatial localization. However, this study is limited by the small number of subjects and high variability of our stimuli, which were live speech, produced during the experiment. In order to investigate this question further, we designed an online test with more controlled stimuli and wider cohort of subjects. While recording this video, we are currently studying its results.